Hello, Andrew.
Hello. It's good to see you again after all these years.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, we are worthy. I mean, what can I say?
We go back a long way.
We do indeed.
Yeah.
And just to show everybody who's watching the show, if we ask Nicholas nicely, you can see a picture of Dr. Cole and I from back, I think it was 2007.
Yeah, about 2007.
Let's have a look.
Yeah.
There we are.
That's when I introduced FUE to Korea. Yeah.
Well, I'd had my strip surgery procedure, as you well know, in Korea, which went horribly wrong. I was a complete novice to the hair restoration industry. I can remember going on the internet and looking at the IAHRS website and seeing what I was led to believe to be a proficient physician, and went with it, and found out to my detriment I underwent strip surgery, which wasn't successful at all. It was an experience that I'll never forget, and didn't yield well, left me in pain, and certainly it's just one of those memories that I wanted to put behind me. And I was very fortunate to have met yourself, of course, all those years ago, because the surgeon who had performed the strip surgery on me wanted to proceed with giving me, I think it's called flap surgery, is it, where they cut the ears?
A flap, huh?
Yeah. I think that the 1975
Flap, scalp reduction, by God.
Yeah, scalp reduction. Yeah. I think they call it the flap. And I can remember him saying to me, "Well, look, we can cut here, and we can." And I just thought, no. When you've got that gut instinct, that feeling that something's not right, and then that's when I did my research, and I was fortunate to found Dr. Cole.
Yeah. Well, back then, just about everybody wanted to do a strip, or there weren't so many flaps, but there was still some scalp reductions. But, almost everybody did a strip. It was, at least I'd say 92% of all surgeries. And you had these clowns like Spencer Coburn and Joe Tillman pounding the table, claiming that these surgeries were far superior to FUE. I remember Coburn calling me and going, FUE is never going to be any good. It's never going to replace strip surgery. And I was like, buddy, who have you been talking to? He said, well, all the doctors I talked to are telling me it's not as good. And I said, well, none of the doctors do FUE. If the only people you talk to are idiots, then your opinion is going to be completely stupid. And the man remains stupid to this day. He still promotes the worst surgeons in the world. And he makes them look like they're maybe okay, because he lumps in a handful, and I'm talking about very few, just a few of the top surgeons in the world that are stupid enough to pay this man to market their practice. But it makes all the other crummy doctors that he recommends and he lists on his website look like they're, just as good, and they're not. And you go look at Tillman's group, and all of them are terrible. I mean, that man can't pick a good surgeon to save his ass.
Well, it's interesting you say this, because I had listened to Spencer Coburn and Joe Tillman's show for a long time. And, in fairness, there were some good advocates. And then it just became, and the word I use is a mockery. And, Spencer Coburn said he knew me and my mannerisms. Well, he doesn't know me. I've never met him, and I don't him, apart from his ego, he was quick enough to sort of say, "Oh well, I've heard of Andrew and I've seen a YouTube or a video of Andrew and I know his type and his mannerisms, and all I can say, well, he's a media machine promoting third-rate physicians, and as I say, initially in the beginning I went to the IAHRS, and the rest is history from what happened back in 2006. But I appeared on the show, and it was just, as I said, a mockumentary where they were just sniggering and giggling and slander, destroying reputation, livelihood, and propping up these third-rate physicians out there in... it's a gamble of who you're going to get, and it's giving the name of hair restoration surgery as a whole a bad name.
But I think the people that pay these two are doing the whole industry a disservice, because they give individual patients the perception that they are consumer advocates. They're not. What they are is two individuals who make a living by promoting doctors. They're sticking their nose in medicine where they don't belong. Neither one of them have any type of formal medical training. To be quite frank with you, I don't think either one of them are employable. Tillman used to have a job working with a strip clinic, and he was kicked out. I don't even think he's allowed on the premises anymore. And Coburn, he's got no wife, he's got no kids, he's got no family. I don't even know if he's got any friends. In fact, probably the only friends he has are the people that pay him to promote him. Now, I got to say that when you take on Tillman and Coburn, what happens is they're going to try their best to destroy your reputation.
Certainly.
Because they're both narcissists. All right.
I experienced that firsthand when I phoned in on the show. I could tell they were muting me. They were turning down the volume, and they were sniggering and laughing, and it was just their egoism.
Yeah.
And this is not only me, but there are other people who phoned in on the show. There was a gentleman not so long ago who phoned in from Kyrgyzstan, and they mocked him and they ridiculed him, and it was all about their ego, and it was, it was just terrible. And this is what they did with me. I said, look, the basic fact, this is a mockumentary, and it's this thing about Joan Tillman being threatened, and it was just nothing to do with hair restoration surgery. It was all about destroying your reputation, your livelihood, the years of experience that you've brought to the world of hair restoration surgery. And they were just trying to destroy everything that you'd built. And I could not sit back there and listen to this. And I thought, no, because I wouldn't have this head of hair if it wasn't for Dr. Cole. And I had to step in and be a loyal friend, of which I am. And then what makes matters worse is that Coburn turns round to me and says, oh, you shouldn't be friends with a physician. Well, who is he to tell me who I can't be friendly with? Which I just think is unbelievable. And then Tillman turns round and says, oh, are you a doctor worshipper? Trying to make me out to be some kind of, well, hello, I choose what I do with my life. I'm not told what to do, when to do it, or how to do it, especially by those two, and I choose who my friends are.
Well, that's exactly what they do. If you're critical of them, then they do their best to turn it all on you, like it's your fault.
Yeah.
Like it's your fault that you have a low opinion of them. Okay, all I did was expose to them that they had some doctors who were consistently getting bad results, and that they should do a better job of who they recommend. Because, Coburn came to me after I quit his organization, and he said, look, you know, the world needs me more than ever because there's so much bad surgery out there. And I said, you know, maybe you're right. But then unfortunately what he did is he turned around and he added this horrible clinic in Turkey for no reason. You know, and I can tell you, neither one of them go to the clinic. They don't evaluate the surgeon's skill. They don't evaluate the surgeon's work. They don't evaluate the staff, the nurses. They don't bother to find out if the nurses know what they're doing. They just look at some pictures. Oftentimes, you know, what I see a lot of the websites of the people they recommend, you can't even blow up the photos to see the detail of the hairline. And they will take $18,000 a year to promote these doctors who, most of them, do terrible work.
And it decimate the donor area, which was what happened with me. My donor area was decimated.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't care anything about trying to keep picking on these guys. But, you know, when you're a narcissist and you confront someone, and I did it in a private setting. When I did it in a private setting, Tillman came back and attacked me. He said I threatened to kill him. That's absolutely absurd. The man lives in Vancouver. I have never been to Vancouver in my life. I don't plan on going. I can tell you this, neither one of them have an office. They both work out of their home. You know, they're not really professional in my opinion at all. So I have no desire to pick on these guys, but I'll tell you flat out right now that when they attack my credibility, my mental stability, like I must be mentally unstable because I take them on. I expose them for what they are. You know, how they treated you when you called in is absurd. But that's how these two narcissists are. They, you know, narcissists can't work in any organization because they're constantly kicking the people below them and they're sucking up to the people above them. And the second you say something derogatory toward them, they come after you. And that's what Coburn and Tillman do. And they do it for a living.
That's true.
And so when I mention doctors that have decided they're not going to support them, like Dr. Zarev and Dr. Wolf, you know what Coburn's first response is? They're terrible doctors. They're terrible. You know, I tried to talk some sense into their head. They're just too stupid. Well, who is he to call a doctor stupid? He doesn't even have the professional integrity to call a doctor a doctor. He calls every physician by their first name. He's completely unprofessional. And he's a narcissist.
And he's never placed a graph in anybody's.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
He's unemployable.
I mean, as I say, when I listened in on that show that evening and then they started playing your voice back and mocking you, I'm a loyal friend and I thought, I've got to phone in the show and set the record straight. Yeah. And if it meant me having to catch a flight from the United Kingdom to come over and appear on the show to set the record straight, I will not sit back and tolerate the likes of these two mocking and just trying to destroy your reputation of which you've built up throughout the years by these two who are not physicians at all. And as you say, they're giving the whole name of hair restoration surgery a bad name. And they're trying to bring you down, and I would not tolerate that.
Well, I don't think the doctors that pay them the money to be recommended should be on their website. They should have the professional decency to turn their back on those two and put them both out of business. And this whole American Hair Loss Council or Society or whatever Coburn runs, that's just a joke. This guy is not a professional hair guy. It's a joke. I'll tell you another thing. I was working the Global Hair Loss Summit for him, and he's got this girlfriend who does all his computer stuff. And, you know, I was trying to set up the meeting, so I was communicating with her, and I sent her an email. And this guy's so petty. You know what he does? He used to date this girl. He intercepts her emails, and he reads them. And he immediately said to me, don't bother her. Don't bother her. I was afraid to give you her email because I didn't want you bothering her.
Maybe he's trying to hide something.
What kind of weirdo intercepts the emails of his former girlfriend? It's absurd. And then,
Somebody's trying to hide something,
the indecency to suggest that I'm mentally unstable. I mean,
Yeah,
what
and
is
is he a psychiatrist? Is he a psychologist, a psychiatrist? I mean, this is what I said to Spencer Coburn on there. I said, who are you to tell me who I cannot and can be friends with? And are you a psychiatrist? Are you a psychologist? How dare you call, Dr. Cole, and, he needs help, and this, that, and the other. Tillman was going on about. How dare, they should look at themselves before they point the finger at others.
No, that's how they do it.
They put a twist on it.
They don't. That's how they do it. The mental instability must have a drinking problem.
Oh yeah, anything. So. Yeah, it was a complete mockumentary. They talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. It's all talk, egoism and everything. When what matters at the end of the day is the end result. And as you can see, this is the result. Okay? And if it wasn't for yourself, Dr. Cole, I wouldn't have this head of hair.
Right. And who would listen to Joe Tillman? Because the guy has had so many strip surgeries done. First of all, he didn't do his homework well. He went and got plugged up. And then he went and got all these strips. The last time I saw Tillman in person was in Istanbul, 2017. You could see straight through his donor area. You could see straight through the top of his head. All you could see was scar.
Oh, wow.
And after that, he's had 2 FUE procedures, not by a physician. He went and let a nurse of a doctor do his surgery. So is this guy trying to tell me that he's somebody you should listen to in terms of who to go to for surgery? He, in my opinion, has made poor choices in his entire life. He's not a candidate for a hair transplant. That's the first thing. His donor area is too thin. He's got too much hair loss, and he's never going to finish it.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because just the other evening when he had his live podcast on with a physician, he was on his show, the camera angle was pointing to the back of his head, and I noticed that, as you say, his donor area was depleted and there was scarring, and you could actually, his hair was really thin at the back and you could see the scarring at the back. And I'd always seen Joe Tillman from the front, but when I saw the side profile, the side profile of the back, it was really translucent. It was, you could see scarring, and it didn't,
Yeah, he's going to be a mess the rest of his life. I mean, I don't like to pick on the guy. I don't like making fun of people who got hair transplants. But when this guy comes out and he's critical of me, and yet he's walking around with one of the worst hair transplants in the entire world, and he keeps making bad decisions, damn it, don't pick on me, buddy. Because I've seen you. You're see-through. He must put on so much product on top of his head when he gets on the camera to minimize the appearance of how thin he is. But he's going to be desperate down the road. He's still a young man. If he lives another 20 years, he's going to be in real serious trouble. And guess what? The best doctors in the world will not touch his ass.
Well, let's just have a look at some of my pictures throughout the years, Dr. Cole. Let's go to when I was 10 years of age. You see, I've always tried to keep my hair because it's been naturally curly. So there I am, a young Andrew at the age of 10. And then if we go to, let's just have a look at some of the other pictures through the hair from 2006, from when I had my strip surgery. Oh, that was 2022, that particular picture. So let's go back to 2006. Let's have a look. You can just, yeah, you can see I'd had strip surgery, and you can see my hair it's like a corn dolly. It's growing all over the place there. It was, and I can remember you saying to me that the scalp, it wasn't good at all, was it? And I was having to brush my hair over, comb over. Let's have a look at some more of the pictures from back in the day, from 2006. Yeah, you can see the hair's been combed over. I wasn't happy at all with the results. Let's have a look at some more pictures. Yeah, you can see, again, and I'd had strip surgery there. It wasn't yielding at all well. It wasn't taking, and I had this, I felt as if somebody had put a cap on the top of my head, and I could feel the scar on the back of my neck, on the back. It was a horrible And I can remember you saying to me, it'll never feel the same. And it didn't. And I knew there and then I'd made a mistake. Let's just have a look at some more pictures. Yeah. Yeah, that's, yeah, we're getting with the comb over. Me in South Korea. Okay, let's, okay, here I am today, you know.
You come a long way.
Yeah, so let's have a look at the picture from, the thing is, in 2022, I took my foot off the pedal, and again, I started receding badly. Let's just see if we can find that picture. I think it was shown a bit earlier.
You were in pretty bad shape.
Yeah. Yeah, we're looking at 2006 here. Look, it's not yielding at all well. Any more pictures of that time? That's the picture. If you go back, if we can turn that particular picture, if you go back, that was from 2022. You can just rotate that picture maybe so we can see it. Is it possible?
Yeah, you're pretty bare.
Yeah. And I can remember you saying to me, oh, look, you're a Norwood. That was
2006.
Yeah, Norwood 6, and that was 2022. Mm-hmm. And of course, my donor area was depleted from when I'd had the strip surgery in South Korea. And I can remember you saying to me, well, you know, Andrew, we're going to have to take your beard. And that was 2022. Mm-hmm. So we've come a long way from there. You can see the pictures there from, yeah, wow. Amazing, isn't it? It's like, wow, yeah.
It's been a journey.
It has been a journey, yeah.
Yeah, and the problem you get with those strip procedures, you pull it, put all that tension in the donor area, and it kills the hair around it.
Yeah.
So you're going to hear strip surgeons, even today, they still say that you're going to get more hair out of a donor area if you do a strip. And that's just not true. You know, there's nothing magical. You know, if you're born with 15,000 follicular units in your donor area, you're not going to be able to create more magically by doing a strip. In fact, what you do with the tension around it, when you pull that skin tight, you cut out a piece and pull it together. Yep. You create tension on either side of that wound, and it kills the hair. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that's why I encourage people not to do it. The other thing you have to do is you have to leave more hair in the donor area to conceal the scar. Now, even with FUE, you know, you can trim the hair down tight, and you don't see those strip scars. And you also are not killing the hair around the hair that you remove. You're not putting tension on the donor area. So that's what happens there when you do the strip. You wind up killing off a bunch of hair. And yeah, you gotta be kind of careful.
Because I can remember contacting you in 2006, and I can remember you telling me, after having had strip surgery, it doesn't feel quite the same. I mean, I can remember the back of the head hadn't been anesthetized properly. I could feel the blade running across the back of my head, and my heart was pounding. And as a physician putting a tablet in my mouth to try and calm me down, and the blade running across the back, and it's something I'll never ever forget. And you get into sort of an involuntary facelift, because in fact what they're doing is they're pulling it back, and you can feel the back of the head tense, and it's the discomfort, you know. And then on top of that, when the surgery wasn't yielding well, and as you can see from the pictures that were shown, I was having to wear a baseball hat all the time. I was really unhappy, and I went back to the physician, and he wanted to perform flap surgery, cut behind the ears, and no. At that stage, I thought, nope. When I questioned him about it, he said, no, strip surgery is the best surgery for yielding. And I just thought, no, I wasn't going to.
No, they just don't know. They don't know any better because they've never done it. You know, I had heard that Tillman and Cobra were starting to try talking patients again and doing strips. And so what are they thinking? You know, I don't get it, but I suspect that they feel strip surgery requires a little bit more surgical talent than performing FUE, and therefore they'll get the nurses out of the field if they get more doctors to start doing strips again. So it's these assistants who are really not properly trained, but they start to work for companies like NeoGraft and SmartGraft, and then these companies fly them around to clinics, and the doctor buys a piece of equipment, and these companies supply a surgical team. Surgical team comes in, they do the whole surgery. Yeah. Well, the doctor doesn't know anything about the surgery. The nurses have never been properly trained. And so we start to see more and more, donor areas that get decimated and bad results. Mm-hmm. So, I can understand it. Let's try to get those people out of the field. But, if they just went back to more strips, that's not the way forward. The way forward, Tillman and Coburn had a good idea. Let's educate the public. The problem is they don't reach enough people to really make a difference. And so I worked hand in hand with these guys from 2019 until 2023. That's 4 years. And in that 4 years, they kept saying they were going to change the industry. We're going to change it for the better. All you got to do is listen to us, like what we publish, and share it. Well, first of all, the doctors don't care about sharing. They're not going to like what they do because they're too busy, focusing on their own lives. Mm-hmm. And some of which is bad surgery, and some of which is, their own life, managing their business or running their practice, and they're just, they're not able to do it. So in reality, those two were never going to change the industry, and they never will. But unfortunately, they went from we want to do something good to starting to take money to recommend people who should never have been recommended.
I can remember the time when you phoned in on their show and you said, I had a gentleman come into the clinic the other day and his donor area was decimated. It was a mess. And you'd advocated this gentleman to go on to one of their recommended physicians. And this guy comes into the clinic. I can remember speaking on the show with passion and say he came in and he's a mess. I've got to pick up the pieces. I've got to pick up the pieces and do what I can.
Well, it was like,
it must be upsetting for you.
Oh my God! I had a patient who's not a candidate, not a good candidate for a hair transplant. Okay, very bald. It's going to cost a lot of money to do his surgery if he does it. He's going to have to be highly motivated, kind of like you. Like we'll do the head hair,
yeah,
and then we may have to finish it with beard. Yeah. So he came to me and he's like, that's going to cost some money. So then, next thing I don't see him for a while. He comes back. He went to Turkey, and he comes in. He said, "Yeah, I scheduled for 4,000 grafts, and they told me while I was there that they could do another 2,000. So now he gets 6,000 grafts at this clinic in Turkey." And I go, "Which clinic?" And he shows me the guy. And I said, "Why did you go there?" And he said, "Because he was an IAHRS recommended doctor." And I'm like, "Oh, I get it. So you came to me. I cost too much money, so you just find the cheap clinic." And in reality, that's kind of like what happens to an extent is the best doctors, they're going to cost more money. And especially in the U.S. Now, you go out of this country and labor costs go way down.
Absolutely.
Okay? We don't have, in other countries, you don't have all the labor laws that we have here. And you don't have, people that expect to make X number of dollars. I was in L.A. a week ago at a fast food restaurant, and the people serving hamburgers were making $25 an hour. And then my friend from San Francisco, who I was there, we were visiting one of my engineers. He said, "Yeah, but in San Francisco, they get paid $28 an hour." And I'm like, Good God.
I mean, they run the risk of becoming cosmetic crippled. I remember you using the word, look, you run the risk of becoming a cosmetic cripple. If you pay pittance, and you're going to get, you run the risk.
Well, that's what sent me over the edge. You know, that sent me over the edge. Until then, I was like, okay, look, they've got their list of doctors that I continuously see repair cases from. They're not terrible. They're manageable. But this guy had no business being recommended to anybody. It was like, oh, I'm going to add this really low-cost clinic in Turkey that's going to screw so many people over. And it's just absurd. So I made a phone call to my people in Turkey. I said, what do you know about this clinic? They go, I just butcher. Okay? It didn't take me but one phone call to find out about this guy. But Coburn adds him to his list without really doing any homework whatsoever.
No research, no.
Apparently. I mean, all he had to do was make a phone call.
And they're paying Coburn, I guess.
I imagine so.
Tillman,
You know, he's got him a nice condo in Beverly Hills. You know, and he's got to pay for that with something.
Wow. I mean, to me, it gives the world of hair restoration a bad name, and you pay for what you get.
Yeah.
And if you go out there and you pay pittance.
No, it's a simple thing for them to have done when I raised it in a very private way. It was like, what are y'all doing? They attacked me. They attacked me in a WhatsApp group. Okay?
And
they had no business doing that.
All you were doing is questioning them. You're questioning them.
Yeah. And then it went from attack to, okay, you do that, now I'm going to really attack.
Personal.
And then the next thing they did was they started to attack me on their radio show, attack my integrity, my mental state, and accuse me of, I presume, being inebriated when I do surgery, which is absurd.
That is as I say, I listened to that show and I thought, I'm not having this. And then they had an attack at me. They were saying, oh, was I being paid? Was I getting privileges? I couldn't believe I was listening to them. I thought, right, I've got to get a jet plane over to come and see you. I'm not having them do this to me or you either, you know. And they're full of their egoism and their mockumentary, and they were just and playing your voice back, snippets of your voice back on their show. Yeah. It was a circus.
Oh, probably they'll grab snippets here and there of this thing.
Oh, of course they will.
But I can tell you this much, okay? In the past more than 2 years, I haven't taken a single vacation. I work 7 days a week. Okay? 7 days a week. So you don't do that when your mental state's a mess.
True.
They certainly don't do that.
True.
They can't do it. They couldn't keep up with my work schedule if they had to. Okay? I'm either on a plane or I'm in an office working.
That is true. I'll vouch for that, certainly. You know, and as I say, I've worked all over the world and I've always kept in touch, and you've always been out of office or you've been busy or... And then, you know, you're involved with the research. So you're...
I'm editing the textbook right now. I've just been appointed an abstract reviewer for MCAS, which is a 19,000 attendee conference in Paris. You know, I'm on the board with MCAS for that meeting. I'll move into MCAS Americas and MCAS Asia. And so I'm very busy.
You've got, you know, we've got Alma TED, we've got the CIT pen, PRP.
We're continuously developing.
Yep, you were talking about the artist robot, you were questioning it. And that's it. We need somebody like yourself to question the industry. You can't have people like Coburn and Tillman sort of take the board over and say, well, what we say is right and that's it. Shut up and accept it. Well, no, we've got to question it and hold them accountable, because you're the physician who has to pick up the pieces and put these poor people.
We constantly got to push the industry too. So on the 18th of July, I caught a first flight to L.A. I flew in there. I met with my electrical engineer. I had a meeting with one of my business people out there, and then I had another meeting after that. Saw a couple of patients. And jumped on the red eye at 9 p.m. landed in Atlanta at 5 to catch a 6:30 flight to New York City. Wow. So, I'm on the go. And you don't do that if you're like Joe Tillman and Spencer Coburn like to imply that there's something unstable about you. You cannot carry that schedule. There's something wrong with those guys. They're narcissists. They got to turn the tables on everybody that questions their integrity or their business model. But I can tell you right now, the only thing those two care about is making money. They do not care about the patient. If they cared about people, they would have got on the phone with me right away and said, okay, what's going on with this patient? Let's do some more research into this. Let's not throw stones at you for bringing it to our attention.
Yeah.
But they didn't care about that patient. They didn't care about, how many more people this guy might cripple. All they wanted to do was say it was my fault. Like, it's like you walk in and you find your wife in bed with another man. And she says, I wasn't in bed with another man. That's your lying eyes.
And they like to put it out there on the show just to up their numbers for their ratings.
And they continue to denigrate me. I mean, I could sue the two guys.
I mean,
absolutely. And probably their doctors that they recommend. Because they're paying them to slander me.
It's slander, it's defamation of character, slander, and the thing is, I listened to it and I thought I've got to, it was just I just couldn't believe it. But
the main thing is, you know what, we don't have to keep talking about them. I'm just glad everything's going better for you. You've had a tough road.
Oh yeah, certainly, yeah. Well, we've known each other since 2006 along the hair restoration journey, and you can see I'm living evidence. I don't mind showing the people out there the pictures. Coburn and Tillman, they talk the talk and the mockery and all the rest of it. Yeah, but here I am in real time and real life here, and this is the result. And I've shared the pictures with you to see. And it's been a long road, so it's imperative to who's listening out there that you get it right.
You got a lot too. I mean, you lost a lot of weight.
Yeah, well, I had gastric sleeve surgery. You are what you eat, and that has an impact on your hair as well.
Yeah, you thinned out after you did that.
Yeah,
there's a lot of protein wasting, but I mean, you came through it.
That's right. The nutrition levels go down, the protein goes down to your hair loss, and that, in fact, was in 2022 that I became a Norwood 6 because I dropped so much weight. My BMI had gone down, and I felt a lot better for having had lost all that weight. But at the same time, the nutrition levels went down, the hair got thinner.
Yeah, I was really concerned about you then because, I mean, I had another patient who had a pretty good response to beard hair transplant and also body hair. He didn't have much scalp hair left, so we're dealing with what we could, chest hair, back hair, some beard hair, and then he had his stomach staple, and he lost a tremendous amount of weight. He was very happy about his weight, but his hair loss just really went off the cliff, and it was he was very upset about that. But I mean, hair requires protein to grow.
Because I can remember,
you got to have your biotin.
Because I can remember coming into the office, and the first thing you said to me is, "Wow, Andrew, you're a Norwood 6." So, and I think you should go on topical finasteride, from what I gather. So I started taking that, and I was a Norwood 6, and I thought, where can we go from here?
I wasn't sure we were going to make it. Yeah. Your daughter wasn't that strong, and you had a long road to travel.
That's right, and I can remember you taking the beard hair and putting it, on. I mean, it's just amazing. It really is. It's just been a transformation, unbelievable. And it's, I've been given a new lease of life, and so,
yeah.
So when I heard that radio show with Tilburn and Coburn, being slanderous and trying to destroy you, I thought, well, no, this isn't this isn't right
Well,
whatsoever.
they weren't so friendly to you either.
No, they weren't. They were really, and it's not only me, but some of the guests who phone in themselves. There was, as I said before, there was this guy from Kazakhstan who phoned in, and they were just mocking his accent, mocking because English wasn't
Well,
his.
they will. They'll make fun of people.
They make fun of people. Let's turn it into a documentary. And I just thought,
Yeah, meanwhile, they're sitting there drinking cocktails and everything and talking trash to people. They don't have a very big viewership. They act like they reach all these people, but they really don't.
I wasn't prepared to tolerate that, and I appreciate that you're having to help these poor victims, these cosmetic cripples who are being to these third-rate physicians, and you see them coming in and saying, "Oh, please, what can you do for me? Can you pick up the pieces?" And so I appreciate you must get really angry and frustrated and sort of, why did you go to that guy? Why did you go there when, if you'd have only spent a little bit more, you'd have had a better job. Don't take the gamble. Don't become a cosmetic cripple. Oh, but because we went on the IAHRS website, we thought we were going to get the best deal. Well, yeah, if you pay pittance and you go to, say, Turkey, where there's they're not part of the EU, so they have no regulations whatsoever, and you may get a good result, you may not. If you don't, there's no coming back whatsoever, and somebody's got to pick the pieces up, and if they do a terrible job, you're going to be wearing your baseball hat for the rest of your day.
Yeah.
That's what happened to me when I went to South Korea.
Well, it's not just, it's not just the lack of result, but it's what they do to the donor. How bad you can destroy a donor when you go someplace.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so common. I see it. They'll go, "Oh, I scheduled for 4,000 grafts in Turkey," and they come in and I look at them. I go, "Oh, yeah, maybe it looks like 2,000," but then you look at the donor and it looks like they took out 6,000. So you're like, "Oh, there's not much left."
So a lot of these young guys, they have their donor areas depleted. And then, of course, when they get into their 30s or 40s, they find, when they're receding again, there's nothing in the donor bank left for them.
No.
Because they've been totally depleted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gee.
Yeah, they don't even realize where, it's something, the most important thing people can do is try to maintain their hair. Yeah. Because hair loss is a lifelong process, and you'll lose hair to the day you die. Yeah. I had a patient in today, for example, and I was like, "Look, what are you doing for your hair loss?" And he told me he was taking Propecia. And I said, "Okay, well, I've been following you since like 2008. And what I can tell you is it may have slowed you down, but it's not keeping you from losing your hair entirely, because you're worse than you were. Yeah. And we have to dial it up. We have to find something better for you. And it's not going to be Propecia. Mm-hmm. It could be a topical form that might do the trick for you. But then again, we may have to mix and match to find what we're going to do." And then he's like, "Well, how much is it going to cost?" I said, "Well, it's a compounding pharmacy. It'll probably be $60, $70, $80 a month." And he said, "Oh, I don't want to spend that much." And I said, "Well, you're not listening. If you don't spend that money, if we don't find a solution for you, you're going to run out of hair.
Time is of the essence.
And I am not going to be able to help you, short of maybe jumping into your beard, which you already told me you don't want to do." Okay? And you also told me you don't want to have to come back. So if you don't want to have to come back, we have to find something that's going to turn you the other way. So what we have a lot of times with Propecia is something that slows down the aging process of hair. But the goal is to find something that will turn back the clock. It'll make your hair younger. Okay? That's the key. Yeah. And it's a process, we have to go through. But how do you know you found the product? Your hair gets thicker.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's going to have to go to cell-based therapy, and that's expensive.
Regenerative.
Yeah, but if you're not, well, it's all regenerative, but if you're not going to focus on trying to, maintain your hair or get more hair through non-surgical means, you're going to wind up in trouble down the road. That's just a fact.
And you can see, you've seen this so many times, you know, and this is it. I mean, I started my hair restoration journey when I was, 38, strip surgeon in South Korea. Well, I'm 58 next year. So look, 20 years, you know, and you've seen the journey, you've seen the pictures, which are still being shown. You know, 20 years, and if I wouldn't have listened to yourself or met you, then it would never have ever, this journey wouldn't have, I'd have still been probably wearing a baseball hat.
Well, we'd like to find something even better to help you maintain. Because grafts, I think, thin out a little bit over time, too. And that's one of the things that happened, especially with you lost a lot of weight. How many pounds did you lose?
I was about 200 pounds. Well, I was in the UK. It was 20 stone. I was 200 pounds plus, and of course, type 2 diabetes was knocking on the door. And I was out of breath. I was not at all well, you know. And the alternative was to have gastric sleeve surgery, which I had. And I dropped the weight. I felt a lot better for it. I certainly did. And my type 2 diabetes has now gone into remission. It's gone. You know, I go running, I go swimming. I'm a lot more active. I watch what I eat, which is really important. Get as much protein in there as possible. Cut out on the fast foods, and I generally look after myself a lot better than what I used to. I think I'm healthier now in my 50s, in my late 50s, than what I was when I was in my 30s.
Oh, it'd be nice to do like a DNA clock on you and see how biologically you are.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly was a game changer. But with it, as you remember, my hair, once those nutrition levels went down, and the lack of protein, the hair started to thin. And I became, I don't know if it was shock loss of some sort, maybe after having had the gastric sleeve surgery.
You need that protein.
Yeah.
Well, hair is protein. You got to have it. And you can't generate it without it.
But that's right. In 2022, I was a Norwood 6, and I can remember you saying, Andrew, we're going to put you on this topical finasteride just to, and I went back, I went home and I thought, I've got to do something. Now is the time to do something. And that's when I gave you a call and you said, well, Andrew, your donor area is depleted. Oh, man, we've got to really work at this. And I just thought, I'm just hoping that something can be done. And
I remember you scraped your pennies together, came in here and threw a bunch of beard hair up there.
I can remember you saying, oh, well, look, I had the beard at the time. You said, oh, I thought you were joking when you said to me, oh, we can take your beard. I thought you were joking, but... No, there it was, and I just couldn't believe it. And then the thing is, my beard was white at the time, with being in my 50s. It's taken amazingly, and it's blended in. It really has, and
it helps that it's curly.
Yeah, it really has. And it's thick and coarse, and it really has blended in well. I mean, a lot of people who know me have come up to me and they've said, wow, we are impressed. We really are impressed, because I thought I was going to have to be a Norwood 6 for the remainder.
I was afraid you're going to wind up in a hairpiece.
Yeah, yeah. I was like.
So what are you going to do with Prince Harry now that he's apparently coming back to the UK?
Oh, I don't know.
Don't talk to him about his hair?
I might well do, because I'm older than Prince Harry. Yeah, I can remember him.
He's turning 40.
Well, hey, I'm 18 years older than him.
Yeah.
And he's lost a lot of hair on the internal. Although I think he has had procedures in the past.
Maybe so.
Yeah, but he has certainly, he has receded. Yeah. So I think he'll be following Prince William, probably.
Let's hope not. His dad has a lot of hair loss. Yeah. William's going to lose a lot. He's already lost a lot.
That's true.
But right now, we just got to pray for his wife. How's she doing?
I think she's been recovering. She's been recovering from what I hear. Right. I just wish them all the very best.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. With Prince William, I think he's come to embrace hair loss, whereas I think with Prince Harry,
I'm always glad when people do.
Yeah.
But unfortunately,
I think Harry
folks
will
can't.
do something about it. After Harry has seen me, after he's seen me, he's like, hey, listen, Harry, listen, Prince Harry.
well, he's going to be spending a little bit less time with Meghan, so he might need to up his game.
Yeah. Hey, Prince Harry, if you're listening, fellow Brit, Your Royal Highness, this is the gentleman you need to check out. I mean, look what he did for me, and I'm 58 next year,
He's got the same hair color as you.
He has, yeah. Although I'm a bit older, so my hair's gone a bit darker.
Yeah.
But there is hope. That's the amazing thing. And we've come so far in the hair restoration industry. There's been so many developments out there. It's amazing. My only regret is that I wish I'd never have ever had the strip procedure in the beginning. That was, and then.
Oh, we're trying to keep everybody away from it. Okay.
Well, so why is Coburn and Tillman trying to promote it?
Well, I think again they're trying to. They think that if strip surgery finds a resurgence, then it will shut down a lot of these mom and pop clinics. Like every day spa, every plastic surgeon, every dermatologist all of a sudden thinks they're a hair transplant doctor because they can hire an assistant to come in, perform the surgery while they're doing something else. And so some of the doctors who perform strips think that strip surgery is so complicated that only a more skilled surgeon can do it. All right? Well, I can tell you, from watching the skilled surgeons do strip surgery when I used to do strips, they weren't very good surgeons at strip surgery either. There's a way to get it out and there's a way not to get it out. And there's, taking too much and, pulling it too tight. But, it's just, I think their way of okay, we lost the battle. Let's try to win the war by redirecting, going on the offensive to promote strips again. That's never going to happen. You're not going to convince the public to get a strip. So these guys go from one failed method to another.
I mean, I can still feel the tightness till this day from back in 2006.
Right.
I can remember you saying it's never going to feel right. And although there's elasticity at the back there, I can still now and again feel it,
Well, Bill Rasmussen was like one of the most experienced strip surgeons in the world. And in 2003, he said, FUE is impossible. Okay, only 1 out of 4 patients are going to be a decent candidate, and they'll have follicle amputation rates up to 20%, which is really unacceptable. So in reality, none of his cases were good. But he was an adept strip surgeon, but he could not perform FUE well. Okay? And in fact, a lot of these people recommended by Tillman and Coburn are not adept FUE surgeons. So all they're basically doing is redirecting their ammo a little bit, hoping that maybe they'll stop some of this illegal or illicit or spurious hair transplant surgery where the results are so bad, but they can't influence it. The only thing that's going to influence it is if enough patients come to the conclusion that, you shouldn't just go to your plastic surgeon who's now offering a hair transplant surgery because you might get mucked up, that maybe you should do your homework, then that might save the field. But otherwise, the results from hair transplant surgery today are good enough to where most people don't really have an understanding that they really destroyed their future. I ran into a patient in Las Vegas at a conference this past June. And the patient had gone and had an artist procedure. And he looked really thin, but he was thrilled with his result.
Yeah.
And he said, they gave me $500 worth of free work. Well, artist doesn't give $500 free work because you got to pay for every graft you take out. Yeah. So what they must have done is taken some of the grafts, split them in two, and put them in and said, oh, these were free. Because if you cut one out, you got to pay artists a fee. Or You pay for each graft you take out. At least that was their business model. Maybe they changed. But it wasn't a great result, but he was okay with it. And maybe 90% of the people will be happy with inferior results, and they won't realize how bad, like you mentioned, they may not. It may take them 20 years to realize what was done to their donor area. They left that in bad shape. Okay.
Do you find that there's a lot of hair factories out there, say, and I don't want to sort of pick on Turkey in any way or form, but...
Well, Turkey's just got more of them.
Hair factories whereby...
Oh, man, they got them all over India. They got them all over Mexico. They got them all over Central America, South America. Wherever, the dollar is, much stronger and the labor costs are low, you're going to have a lot of clinics.
And what I heard also is that in the hair restoration industry, that a lot of these young gentlemen are going and they're getting their hairline brought down to try and mimic maybe...
well, they don't, there's a Caucasian hairline, there's an Asian hairline, and there's an African hairline.
Yeah.
And in general speaking, a Caucasian hairline's more of a V. Okay? Whereas Asian hairline's like you put a bowl on the head and drew a line.
Yeah.
And African hairline tends to tilt down just a little bit. Now, anytime you create those broad hairlines like that, an Asian hairline, you're eating up a lot more donor area. So most of the time, it's really just not a good idea.
And is it going to stay there? Is it going to...
Well, it can. And then, so if you build real low hairlines that are broad, which is pretty common, it's like we call the Turkish hairline.
Yeah.
Those people are kind of messed up for life because they're going to lose hair behind it. And now they're going to have this low, broad hairline and nothing behind it. Imagine if Joe Biden looked like that. He's got that big hole in the back of his head.
Yeah.
And, his surgeon at least was smart enough to leave the hairline a little bit higher. Okay? And his original surgeon put plugs all over his head. And then in the early 90s, people like Shapiro, myself, Brad Wolf, Bill Rassman, Bob Bernstein, Bobby Lemmer, and David Seeger, we all kind of taught the rest of the world how to properly build a hairline.
Yeah.
And so this surgeon learned how to build a hairline better, and he fixed up Joe Biden's hairline. Okay? But up until then, it was plugs. The guy who still plugs is Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer's got a wall of plugs right there, but his hairline's very high. It'd be easy to fix.
Yeah.
Because his hairline's so high. It'd be really easy.
Now, as for Donald Trump, has he had any procedures?
Well, I'm not going to mention much about him, but he's definitely, the rumor is he's had some things done. I even heard one surgeon say he was in the room when something was done. I heard it. Somebody said that about him.
Yeah.
Which is completely false because he hadn't been doing hair transplants long enough to have worked on Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
But we think he's had something, but mostly it's a kind of a comb-up.
Yeah.
And he does a great job with it, but he's coming all the way from back here and flipping it back and all the way back around.
Yeah.
And that style works, with the exception of when the wind catches it, it lifts it up.
But that was his natural hairstyle in the beginning, isn't it? It was a bit like me and my curly hair. I was able to sort of...
He's probably not a good candidate for hair transplant, but he doesn't like the bald look. Okay? And he doesn't want to wear a hairpiece. So, I mean, let the guy live his life.
Yeah.
I don't know that he picks on people's hair, does he? He picks on people, but he doesn't pick on their hair, does he?
No, I think he's he's good. He's good like that. You know? I mean,
like I'm gonna pick on Joe Tillman because he picks on people about their hair, and he picks on surgeons he got no business saying anything negative about. Look, remember, Joe Tillman promoted strip surgery for, from the 1990s, like the late 1990s, all the way up to almost like 2014, 2015. And then suddenly he started to promote some FUE. Not the best surgeons, but he started to talk a little bit about FUE.
Yeah.
Only because it was the only thing left for him. And so think of all the young men who he talked into these disfiguring scars on the back of their head that just branded for life, scarred for life, all thanks to Joe Tillman. He's got nothing to be proud of. Nothing.
So I believe he was a patient coordinator for Hassan and Wong.
Well, he was.
And then he's bestowed it upon himself to set up his own business and become an advocate.
Well, first of all, he went to work for another surgeon. Okay, he made a lot of mistakes there. I don't think he lasted long. He's really kind of difficult to get along with. Like the second you have, hey Joe, maybe you're not right about that. He immediately lashes into you. That's part of his narcissistic behavior. Okay, he cannot tolerate any form of criticism. You know, he could be critical about me about something that's true, and I'd be going, yeah, that's a good point.
You take you on the chin, you'll say, oh yeah, okay, I'm prepared to listen. Constructive criticism.
Well, if it's good,
yeah.
If it's not some made up thing like, oh, you're mentally unstable. We're concerned about you, Dr. Cole. You need to get some mental help. I need some mental help because I see you for what you are. A charlatan, a narcissist. I'm sorry, buddy.
There's no evidence. There's no facts. There's no evidence. You don't mind constructive criticism now and again, but when it starts getting personal and nasty,
you can tell me. I think the hairline design here is not perfect, and I might go, what am I missing?
You talk about it rationally.
Yeah. If he had, I'd be the first one to say the biggest mistake I've made was I didn't push regenerative medicine, even Propecia, 25 years ago. Mm-hmm. I started making minoxidil in 1990. Mm-hmm. I would take minoxidil pills and I'd buy a coffee grinder and I'd grind them up, mm-hmm. and I had the recipe. It was like grain alcohol, a little propylene glycol, and minoxidil. And then you strain it through, you make the paste all gets out of it, and you make a clear liquid. Mm-hmm. Okay? And it's a lot of trouble to make. And so, I was using ProScar back in 1990. It was readily available. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It was a DHT blocker. We put them on, have them take a half a pill or a quarter pill or the whole thing. So I've known about these medications for a long time. The problem was people had side effects. And I really didn't see these great responses. Yeah. It wasn't until like 2017, 2016, when I was in Italy, and the pharmacy said, try the topical finasteride. And I didn't think it'd do anything.
I remember you saying.
Yeah, and I did it, and I started putting it on these guys, and it was like, this stuff grows hair.
This is amazing.
Yeah. And so I started advocating it. And I brought it back to the USA, and now topical finasteride is everywhere.
Yeah.
But it came back to the U.S. for me and probably Victor Hassan. Mm-hmm. Victor Hassan brought it to Canada, and I think he was shipping it down into the U.S., which probably wasn't legal at the time, but he was doing it. And let's see, I didn't ever sell it or make it. I always gave it to a pharmacist because it's illegal for me to be involved in that. At any rate.
But you were aware of it.
Well, I got aware of it. But what I'm saying is my biggest mistake is I should have pushed Propecia, even though it didn't do that much, just because I've been around this field now over 30 years, and I've seen what happens to people who don't do something to help maintain their hair. They get worse over time.
That's true.
And that bothers the hell out of me.
Yeah, and it's not you've got to keep your foot on that pedal. You've got to, you've got to. So
Joe Tillman said, Dr. Cole made a mistake. He should have promoted regenerative medicine. He should have promoted Propecia a long time ago. I go, Joe, you're right. But not, Dr. Cole, you're calling into question my integrity as a patient advocate. So you must be mentally unstable. Oh, Joe, that's not the way it works.
That's right. I mean, you were first to hold your hands up and say, yeah, I mean, that was back then. This is now. We all make mistakes. Maybe I should have followed that path. But you're open to discussion. What he comes back with a personal, which is
got to be something wrong. Like he did you when you called in. Oh, are you being paid to make this phone call? Or are you? Why are you making this phone call?
I'm a doctor worshipper.
Yeah.
is the guy for real? You know,
give me a break.
you know, it's like, who is he to tell me who I can't be friends with? You know, I mean, it's just
Well, you know,
unbelievable.
in medicine, it's like if you're like a general practitioner or an internist, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's probably, even if you're in a small town, it's probably in your best interest to keep your friends separate from your practice.
Yeah.
Okay, because you know there are intimate moments that you have with a patient. Okay, now I'm not going to have intimate moments with my patients. I'm not going to be examining a female's breast. I'm not going to be, you know, listening to her heart. I'm going to be treating somebody's hair.
You're a professional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to treat, you know, I have patients who are friends. And they're friends because they're good people. It's not because you know, I value anything in particular about them other than they're just good folks and they're fun to be with and they're smart, they're educated, and we don't cross the barrier between me, you know, treating multiple medical issues.
Because I can remember you saying to me, back in 2022, look, Andrew, you know, you're an Allwood 6 here. I'm just, you know, telling you, I'm being honest with you, that if you don't do something about it, but we can take your beard hair. And I thought, you know, I'd got my faith and trust in you because the results show for themselves throughout the years. I wasn't going to go to somebody else of whom I didn't know. Okay, I could have thought, well, you know, if I went to Turkey or I went to Mexico and I, you know, I'm taking there isn't, you know, that my hair loss journey, you know how, you know, and so I respected your decision and professionalism, and I'm glad that I went with yourself. But getting back to Tillman again, they just jump to conclusions. It becomes personal. It's not constructive, and they just. You know, it was a mockumentary. That's what I used on the show, and I wouldn't tolerate it at all.
Well, you should. You shouldn't. They're not going to take your phone call too easily anymore.
Oh, that's true. But do I care? All what I care about is my hair, and look, it's there. God. Is it that's what matters?
Yeah.
I mean,
I had a patient said, hey, they wanted to chat with me, and I was like, I'm not going to talk with those guys. And then I was like, okay, I gave them a call. I thought they just wanted to chit chat. You know, and maybe bury the hatchet, but no, they immediately dove in on me.
Yeah.
And like, we got rid of you because of the quality of your work. I go, what are you talking about? Yeah. What are you talking about?
What really annoyed me is that they said, oh, you know, Dr. Cole, your co-workers and your associates within the industry are really worried about you. They're really worried about you. And we really think that you should seek help. And I'm just thinking, what on earth is this? I mean, it's becoming really personal.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
And then Coburn says to me, hey, mate, well, I'm not your mate. I never met you. I don't know you. And then he says, oh, well, we know the likes of your type, your mannerisms. I've met people with your mannerisms. Well, you know, the only thing Spencer Coburn and I have in common is I believe that he lost a family member in a road accident, a hit and run, which is a tragedy, and my heart does go out to him on that, you know, and there's no bad words from me on that one. But I also had a friend who was hit and run, and sadly the driver drove off, and so I sympathise with him. But that's the only thing him and I have got in common, you know. Apart from that, I don't know anything about
him. As far as I can tell, that's the only emotional empathy the man's ever displayed. I don't think he's empathetic toward anyone or anyone cause. I believe he's emotionally detached. You know, something completely wrong with that guy. And obviously nobody likes to see somebody's brother get, you know, run over, or, you know, a pedestrian hit and run, and I think he was killed. But
the same with my buddy, the same happened. So it's heartfelt, you know. And then, from what I believe,
you can't promote bad surgeons, okay, knowing they're bad, and then turn around and attack the people who let you know about it. Like, hey, Yeah, maybe you ought to make a change in what you're doing here.
Yeah. I mean, I think, Spencer Coburn and Joe Tillman gave the hair restoration industry a bad name, and that's what they're trying to do. And I think
They all are. They're all those things. Like you got this other guy, Spencer Stevenson, 25 top surgeons in the world. Most of those aren't any good. Most of them aren't that good. You got doctors on that list and on Coburn's list that can't even do surgery. You wouldn't want them doing your surgery. You know?
my heart's already beginning to pound.
You would. Thank God they got somebody else doing the surgery.
Bit my fingernails down already.
Yeah.
Wow.
But anything else you want to say, Andrew?
Oh no, I've
been at it a while.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just honoured to know he's from all these years, from 2000 and 2006.
Yeah, I'm glad it's all going well.
Yeah,
It's great seeing you again.
yeah, and and as I say, you've got my pictures. The evidence is there to be seen. And
We'll have to. I will throw some more up there one day.
yeah, certainly, yeah. It's certainly it's good to be able to run my
Johnny
finger.
Rotten.
Oh yeah. I've got a picture of. I don't know if you've got a picture of me and Mr. Lydon there somewhere. But I mean, it's nice to be able to run my fingers through my hair again. As I say, it's just given me a new lease of life, and I've dropped all my weight.
Yeah, you're looking great, man.
Yeah, and I'm 58 next year, and I think investing in your health is a good thing.
Yeah, well, I got lots of good ideas.
If you look good, you feel. If you look good, you feel good.
Well, we got some great ideas for you.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
Great seeing you, buddy.
Thank you.
You take care.
You too.
Bye.
Thank you for listening, everybody.